Illusion, God is not great, the end of faith, I think are opening up a new world, and I think the internet is really a big part of that, because people can find out things now easily which they couldn't. I just talked to another foreman couple who, because of the internet and things like that, it's easy to get the information, and once people have the information and they understand it, things start to change. My feeling about religion is that, you know, you were asked, where are you, Jason? There you are. You were asked by that reporter, why do you think religion is evil? I could have talked to the guy for about 2 hours, because I think, in essence, religion, particularly what I want people to know is that there is no, religion of peace is an oxymoron, as is ethical monotheism. These two things do not exist in reality, particularly monotheistic faith, because of what it demands of people, which is basically to give their hearts and minds to something without evidence and that cannot be debated. So you're constantly going to have conflict, because if you can't debate, if you can't reason about things, the only thing to do at that point is to fight and battle and see whose side God is actually on. And that has been the history of religion throughout the last 2,000 years, certainly in the West, and I think it goes back much farther than that. What people are finally starting to see is they're starting to look at Islam and what is happening in Islam today and realizing that was Christianity 500 years ago. Had Europe not gone the way it had into a secular, humanist, liberal democracy, we would still have that. And could those people have their way again today, as we saw last year with Prop 8? They would take us back there. There is no question in my mind. Not because they're evil, not because they're horrible, terrible people, but because they have surrendered their minds and their souls and their hearts and their morality to something which has no regard for human beings. And that is why I am a humanist. That's why I love groups like this, and I want everyone to support groups like this, because at the heart of that terrible scourge on humankind is the idea that there is something that comes before the human, and that is God. The story of Abraham is the story of, I come first. I'm God, I come first. I know you waited around your whole life to have a child, to have this son, but I'm more important. I need you to kill your son. And from that point on, God became more important than humans. And when God is more important than humans, humans will do horrible, terrible things to each other in His name. That is an empirical fact that has basically never failed to occur when those parameters are in place. The thing I wanted to say about this Christian nation, and I do think what we need to get past, what we need to move on as humanists, as secularists, as skeptics, as atheists, whatever you want to call us, is the notion that religion is a good, is a virtue, that faith is a virtue. I have a saying that I want to make a t-shirt of. Faith is not a virtue, doubt is not a sin. The idea that faith is a virtue is what is holding, I think, people, particularly in this country, back, because what they do is they say, well, isn't religion a good thing, blah, 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 blah. It's a good thing in small doses the way drugs are. It's something that you should do it should never be allowed to take over your life. It should be done in small dosages, maybe on the weekends, like a lot of people do, and you should probably have a big bag of Doritos next to you in case you get the munchies, just like some other drugs. But the problem as I see it is that people think, one of the things that you hear all the time is that this is a Christian nation in America, and therefore, gee, America's pretty good, I love America. Well, it's not a Christian nation. It's in no way a Christian nation, and my argument for that is that if you look at the Bill of Rights, if you look at what was codified as our founding document of this nation, go through the Bill of Rights individually and ask yourself, are these Christian ideals? and answer that question. See how many of the rights that are guaranteed in our Bill of Rights are Christian ideas. Is freedom of religion a Judeo-Christian idea? No. What the Bible says is, if you don't believe the way we believe, kill them. That's the Old Testament rule, is to kill non-believers, or people who believe in another God, another spirit, whatever you want to call it. As Christopher Hitchens said, I loved him, he said, you know, as if that weren't bad enough, at least the Old Testament God, once you were dead, you were in the ground, good for you, he was done with you. The Christian God digs you up, resurrects you, and tortures you for all eternity for not believing his way. So you literally went from the frying pan into the fire.